Okay. Well, it is now 6:04 on Thursday, the 23rd of March. Calling the Finance Committee meeting to order. First thing on the agenda is the meeting minutes from March 16th and March 17th.
I'll make the motion that we approve the minutes of both this 16th and
17th.
16th and 17th as documented.
Second.
Any corrections, any problems, any issues? Okay.
Was I here?
Should I vote?
I think I was.
Mind or
You were
naughty?
here.
Okay. Good, I'll vote.
All in favor?
I know I have to go to my office
All
and get my phone,
opposed?
otherwise I'll freak
Okay.
out going home with no phone.
So, then we have the assessors first, and I don't
I
see
don't
it.
know where Amy is. I talked to her today and she said she was coming, so why don't you just start, if you get the next apartment, start the next apartment, we'll backtrack to her. I mean, I could do it if you want,
Or,
but
we can expect that when we invite a department, they show up. I'm just saying.
I'm not arguing that point. She told me she was coming, so I don't know what happened.
Anita, thank you very much for showing up early for your appointment. Appreciate it. So
There you
Anita,
go.
we're gonna go to you because
Thank you.
this way you get to go home earlier.
There you go. That's a
I
good
like
thing.
that. So,
Town clerk.
you want me to just go?
Yep, let's start with town clerk.
Okay, well, because our office is actually in charge of 3 separate budgets.
Yes.
And the first one is town clerk. And the first account is level funded other than a 2% COLA. And it's for the town clerk's salary. And it's based on MTP 5, step 2. The second line item is the assistant salary, and that's based on a 28-hour work week at OAD 4, step 1, and it also reflects a 2% COLA for FY 2023. I had a little note.
What? It went down according to this.
Yeah.
The change between the two salaries between Damien and the other.
Yeah,
Candace.
I think that's what it is. It's Damien left, and she was at a different rate.
She was at a higher OED.
So the lower number would be accurate even though it's an increase.
Correct, because it's a new employee and
Right.
the
Okay.
classification was lower.
Maybe we should take another look at that, but, oh no, that was for my budget request, not, I think that was what I requested. That wasn't what was actually the 31,571.
No, the annual town.
30,677 is what you requested.
Yeah,
And what was in the budget? Maybe
I
it's
think-
from the clerk's office. I don't think I cut anything,
I
so.
think I think on my list it was what had originally been requested. And
From 2022, annual town meeting was 31,571.
Oh, it was, okay.
Yes.
I think
So
that's
I think that's what it is too.
Yeah, I think it is too.
But I have a little note
Just check.
that says that our office is opened 34 hours a week, and the goal should really be to increase that the position to reflect those hours. It makes it really difficult to operate when we are opened. We're open 4 days a week from 8 to 4:30. And the assistant only works 8 to 3 on Monday through Thursday, which is fine. But if I'm out sick or away, it's harder to backfill those hours. Plus, what I was just telling Carol, we need to find a way, I don't know how, but to get all of our admin more dollars, more hours, and I'm sure you're all aware of that, but I mean, Beth, I'm sure you all know that Beth gave her resignation this week, and that, well, it's sad to see her go, happy for her, but it affects all departments when there's turnover in other departments, and the other thing I was saying is I've been town clerk for 8 years, and in that time, I've trained 2 assistant town clerks. They both were with me for 4 years, and they both left and are in more money, more pay, and they're town clerks in other municipalities. So it feels like we're almost like just a training ground in our office, and I'm really happy for them too, but it would be nice to keep people.
So, I think it would be important to be able to, at some point in time, state what the impact is. When you
On a turnover?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it and you say it's I'm happy for them because they're going, and that's great that they found what they want to be able to do. And that it is a training ground for you. So what kind of impact does that have?
I think part of it is because because our salary, especially for admins, is lower, that we're getting people that are not have any kind of municipal background, and just with all the different things that happen in our office, takes a long time. The hardest. Probably the hardest thing on training is elections, because it's something that only happens either once a fiscal year or up to 3 times or 4 if there's a special one.
Right.
So it takes quite a few years to really have somebody come up to speed. I mean, Candace is great. I did steal her from the assessors, which then puts a hole there. But and she really is, and she's catching on, and she has all the day-to-day. But she hasn't worked an election yet, so there's still...
But when you have that turnover, and now these folks don't have that degree of experience, then that's going to translate to some kind of impact on townspeople.
But both of them left to become town clerks.
Lynn left to take assistant town clerk position in Hopkinton.
Then she
And
knew
then
she was
she
going
went
to,
on,
right.
and
So that's the other thing. That's no different than taking an assistant controller's position and then you leave because a controller position somewhere else opens up. It's really no different.
Right, and I understand that. I understand
Right.
the reason that they go for, and what they can get for that is great. It's good for them to be able to do that. But it leaves a hole in her department.
Sure.
And that hole in her
training takes
department
time.
is going to create an issue for people in town. Because you just can't do what we're doing with that person that had the experience.
I mean, some of the basic
Well, the
stuff.
assessor had just trained Candace, and you had no problem leaving that home. So I don't mean to throw barbs, but
No,
there is that truth. I mean,
no,
it
there is
happens
too.
regardless of where it is.
But
Well,
the other thing is that right now, the admin in the assessor's office, Candace is available to her, and she's in our office often, and it just, and I don't mind her doing that, because it's just good for the town that she's getting more, because she's basically in that office without anyone from RRG most of the week, so she's getting a lot of.
Sure, but they should be able to reach somebody at RRG.
I think they can, but
So that's the whole
usually-
thing. Because now you've got a person sitting that needs to be learning the assistant town clerk's job, that's doing the assessor's admin job, and that's not her. I understand. In cases of an emergency, I'm all for that. But in general, the new person needs to understand, I know it's more convenient to walk down the hallway and go here,
Into our
but the
RRG.
proper chain is to go up through. Because that's just the proper chain that should be going. Because when the review comes time, it's going to be with RRG telling them what she's doing, and now they have no idea how much time she's spending in your office.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not saying
Recording
she
in
spends a lot,
progress.
but it's mostly when somebody comes into her office, so it's like an immediate need, and it's not, it may be a couple times a day. That's it, and it's usually a quick answer, like where something is. So it only makes sense to me to do that, but again, the assessor is only open 8 to 3, so the fact that they're only in that office, it doesn't affect our office so much, but it affects Becky's office, because when somebody can't, get the forms they need or get anything, they're in the treasurer collector's office, so, but anyway, that's just my plug.
Well, I mean, I know that was one of the things I was going to ask, so don't worry when the assessors come in, because I think they should defer their time so that it's more.
Karen, Amy just joined via Zoom.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you mean.
8
Further
to 3,
attention.
8 to 3 does not help those of us in this town who might need the assessor's office and leave to go to work in the morning and don't come home until
So
later.
you don't like the hours, you would
Shouldn't
change
it
the
be
hours.
deferred more for, this is,
Or staggered somehow.
somehow staggered so that a couple days a week they're here more for people who, a good chunk of the people leave and go out to a job and then come home. Like your office is still open Tuesday nights.
No,
No, you closed that during
After-
COVID? That hasn't come back?
No, it
Okay.
hasn't after COVID. And I have posted on the website that for any reason, just call ahead and I'll stay for
Right.
anything.
Yeah.
And that, seems to be working that way. We
I mean,
did
it's
have
not a lot of traffic, but
but there's some things, so we offer that.
Yeah.
And Becky closed the treasurer collector's office maybe 3 years ago. you
yes,
know.
yes.
And I think, and before she did that, she did a long study of the number of customers
Mhm.
coming in, so it wasn't a whole lot, but. So the next account is basically, it's an additional salaries for a town clerk certification program, so it's $1,000 a year. The next is purchase services, and that's level funded. It includes dog licensing and the town clerk bond fee, which we did reduce recently. The supplies account just has a slight increase, I think $25 increase over last year.
275.
750 to 775.
It's a $275
increase.
increase.
Right. And it was, 2022 was
Oh, it's on
500.
the spreadsheet, it's
It's
500 on
775,
the
right?
sheet, it's
No? Am I reading it wrong?
Oh.
750.
Okay. Yeah. My figures are what I requested and then got dropped down when we
Right.
did cuts last year,
Right.
so it is more of an increase. But it's basically just a $25 increase for what, from a couple of years ago, and toner cartridges are through the roof. And then the last account in the town clerk is basically town clerk association fees and Worcester County fees and conference fees, and that's a slight increase because all the conference fees are higher.
It's
I think
double.
I think on anything in any of her budgets, just so for clarity, all the budgets are
It's double.
as proposed.
And
Okay.
then
Yeah.
I was like, it's not a slight increase, it's double.
Well, when
What's
you're
that?
looking at it on paper, the paper's a slight increase.
The other charges. Because the town budget last year was 350.
Right.
because we cut it, because that's what we cut at the time. But
Sure.
it's back up. It was 600 for years, and then when we had to make cuts, that's where our office chose to cut. We didn't go to some conferences partially because of COVID, so it worked out. But so the increase is over what has been for the last through FY 18, 19, 20, and 21.
Okay.
And a good, one of the reasons most of these conferences, oftentimes the main reason why it's pretty imperative that we attend, it's elections, so it'll be a staff from Secretary Galvin's office doing election training, and with all the changes in the election laws, it's really hard to keep up if you're not going to conferences. So, any other questions on town clerk? And then elections is where you see the biggest change, and it's basically FY '22. Was only this upcoming annual town election, and for FY '23 we'll have the annual town election. Then we'll have the state primary in September and the November state election. So any increases there reflect the change and just going from 1 to 3. It's not clear yet with election salaries, it's not clear yet how much the state's gonna mandate that we do early voting, so we have to take that into account, that a lot of that may be required, so.
Mail-in voting too?
Right, the only mail-in voting for the annual that's coming up is the regular absentee ballots.
Okay.
That you have to have. It's basically 3 reasons to pull,
Right.
to pull an absentee
Right.
and request it. During COVID, we were required to hold early voting and vote by mail.
Right.
And the legislature still hasn't come through, but from what we're hearing, we're going to have, it could be up to 2 weeks prior to the primary in September and 2 weeks prior to the November election that we'll have to staff early voting.
Okay.
So it was I think most town clerks are still recovering from 2020, so it wasn't easy. But that's basically the changes in the election budget. And then registrars is our last one, and I think there's additional compensation for town clerks that are members of the Board of Registrars. And so that's the first line item of $300. There's a small clerical line item that's also level funded at $200. The purchase service account basically funds the annual street listing and mailing, the town census, and that's at $16.50. And then the supplies account we increased that by $25 again, mostly toner cartridges.
Toner cartridges for what, though?
Our printers,
But what is the Board of Registrars printing?
census. We've got a state printer. So it's,
You guys print all of those? You don't
Yeah.
send them out to a printer to do?
no, we print and fold them. We are starting to look into sending them out, but it's fairly pricey.
Well, it's gonna change from this line item to another line item.
Right. But we print on a daily basis notices to residents, people that change their voter registration, new residents that come to town. I mean, it's a lot, so.
Okay.
All right, any questions?
Nope. Good job.
Thank you. Is there a way you could bring that computer over here so people could hear a little bit better?
Yes.
Can I see you, Peter? See you tomorrow. I know, I forgot my phone, I know. Left my phone in the office, I'll forget it.
Where are we going next?
I don't know if it's gonna hold.
Who's-
because we have to
I don't know,
send
the agenda. Who's next?
Okay,
I can run and grab some Peters, but I
Nope.
don't see if we can.
this way at least we
You
can
might-
see her, that's all. Amy?
Yes,
Okay.
Oh, we can.
We thought you were gonna be joining us this evening.
I am joining you. I ended up logging into the wrong Zoom meeting, and then I had to log onto the website and actually get the right Zoom address. So I do apologize for not being here exactly at 6.
Okay. All right. She handles the assessors, so
Okay.
the floor is yours.
Well, I've not actually gone through this before, so I was just going to read the narrative that we send out. The first item would be the salary for the board members, which is levelly funded at $1,500, which is for 3 board members. The administrative assistant's position was increased and then decreased because we have a new admin assistant. Her rate was $16, and then it increased with the COLA by 2%. And so now her annual salary is $791.40.
Could you give me that number again?
It is $23,791.04.
I'm sorry, Amy, there was a lot of discussion between the treasurer's office and you guys on that rate. And I already made that adjustment, and I think we have it, that's already on our budget adjustment sheet.
24,365.
And we have it for 24,365, that was the number given us to by the treasurer.
Well, when I had spoken the other day to Tessa, I asked her what her rate was, what they were actually paying her, and that's what she was telling me, that the increase was $14.34 an hour.
The treasurer had sent out an email back, a couple of weeks ago about this adjustment, sent it to the finance committee as well, and put this number in because it was a mistake in the adjustment. So I believe that the number we have is correct. So could you revisit that number and talk with Becky? And then just get back to the chairwoman of the finance committee to make sure it's right?
Okay,
Because we have a number, again, our number we have is 24,365. That came directly from Becky. And that was sent, I think, weeks ago to Karen as well, right? Karen, didn't you got that email?
I
too?
did get
'Cause
the
we
email. I can look it up if we have to, but
Yeah, but that came directly from Becky. That's why that adjustment came. Because we gave them this adjustment back a couple of weeks ago at least. We gave them that adjustment. So just verify with Becky and
yeah, that was
respond back to
identified
Karen.
the day. That was identified the day you gave us the books.
Yeah.
Becky told us.
So just verify with Becky and then let Karen know so that we can get the right number in.
sure. And then assessors purchase services, which is 98,564. And that is for our services of the RRG group, the vision software, the portion of VADAR that we split with other departments, CAI contracts, which is our tax maps and GIS services, and any plans or deeds or anything that we need from the registry of deeds.
So the increase is due to your increase in your contract? Is it an increase in VADAR? Is it an increase in GIS? What makes up the
All
increase?
of them. There's an increase of 2.5% in the RRG. Vision went up about, $1,000 or $1,500. VADAR went down a little bit because the cost of splits. The CAI maintenance went up. The hosting stayed level. And then we had an increase in registry docs.
Is it written on there?
There's an extra spreadsheet.
Yeah, is it written? Okay.
So guys, just so you understand, every 3 years, we have to go out for a bidding process through procurement. So this contract was put out on, through the open market. RRG in this case was the only company that bid on it. The rate increase was a small increase from the year before. The Board of Selectmen already reviewed it and voted and approved the contract. So the contract is in place.
Okay.
And then the supplies, which is staying the same at $830. And then any memberships and membership education and that kind of thing, mileage is $650.
Any questions? Thank you very much, Amy.
Thank you.
Look forward to hearing from you so we get the right number for her.
Absolutely, I will get back to you, I promise.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. I'm
Well,
almost 100% sure the number I gave you is right, but we'll check and make sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What do we have next? RDIC is next. Mr.
Michael, why don't you
Sullivan.
join us up here?
Sure.
In case we talk.
So I apologize, I had a computer snafu in your document that you use. I couldn't get to function, so if you just wanna spread those around, that's got the information that is relevant.
This one, this. Do you know what RDIC is in this book?
No,
Yeah, I'm trying to find it too.
Is this one?
We don't exist.
Yes, you do.
No, you do.
It's under development.
Yeah, it's not under RDIC, it's under Development Commission, so it's in the Ds.
What development industry function?
That's right.
Good evening, by the way. to everybody. I'm Mike Sullivan, for those of you who don't know me.
Good Irish kid.
Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead.
So,
You got the floor.
mine is pretty simple. First thing we need is secretarial, saving grace. The lady down there in the corner to come to our meetings and keep us straight. So, with the coming of the HCH, Harbor Classic Homes project, these are my best guesses. Don't ask me to justify them. I'll try to answer any questions you have, but I'm anticipating that typically each meeting becomes a 3-hour meeting by the time we have the meeting and Tamika does her magic and gets all the paperwork done. For a period of time, and I'm suggesting that could be as long as 9 months, I'm saying we're gonna have 3 meetings a month. So for 9 months, that nets out to that 1384.29. And then I'm suggesting that for 3 months, we'll have 1 meeting a month. So that's the 5127, so the total is 1435. So I said, let's just say we need $1,500 annually in secretarial, or, I don't like that word, is there a better word for that?
Actually, I think you asked for $2,000
TJ.
originally.
So, you know, that's just my best guess. You are right, we did talk about $2,000, but I know what happens when you come to these meetings, so if you wanna plug 2,000 in there, we're not gonna spend it if we don't use it.
So just to be clear, this is, when I was making my cuts, a scenario cut, and I let Mike know I did it. This is an interesting issue, and I don't have a problem with the finance committee decides to put some money in here. The issue is that they have an article, that there is some money in the article that he could pay for this work, but the RDIC has other things they would like to do within that article money, so they would like money for this as part of the budget, because they have a whole bunch of other things they want to do with the land. So that's I think the major issue. I don't have a problem if the board wants to put some money, more money into the clerical work, but that's why I made the decision.
How much is left on that article, do you know?
Not the top of my head.
13.6 or something like that.
Karen, is the $2,000 in your spreadsheet?
No, it's there as a budget
It's
request,
zeroed.
and
I
the
cut
TA budget says 0.
Okay, so there's nothing planned for salaries for secretaries?
Correct.
They can pay for it out of that warrant article.
Okay.
Which is what we've been doing over the last few years, and that, at least in my opinion, that's not what that article was for. That article was for the development and promotion of the property, maintenance and development of the property, not for secretarial services.
Karen, if I may, the balance is $12,673.
Thank
Okay,
you.
in the
sorry,
article.
missed by a number. So, and that number was about $7,000 higher than that last year. But this is a good example of, well, I'll tell you what, let me just jump ahead and then I'll give you an explanation of that. If you jump down into the middle, professional services of $5,000 I have there. I'll give you an example of why I think we need that. During the processing of the RFP for the site, we were obligated to pay legal fees of somewhere in excess of $7,000 that I was not expecting to pay. I thought for sure we would be able to get the developer to pay that. Our attorney said no, because RFPs are the way they are. So we lost $7,000 of what was then, what did you say it was, Tamika? 12, so it was roughly $20,000. And we spent about 7 of that we didn't anticipate. That leads me back to the tree clearing portion of $15,000. When our board voted, as part of the maintenance of the property, to clear cut is a poor word, so selectively cut from Maple Avenue all the way down to the pond, other than good standing trees. In other words, get rid of all the brush and saplings and so on, so that it could theoretically look like a park. when the RFPs went out, that was a request and a recommendation of Joe Buckley, the DPW superintendent, that would be good use. We had already agreed as a board that would be a good use because there's so much wetlands there. So we voted internally to spend $15,000 to do that, but we don't have $15,000 anymore because we've had to pay these other unanticipated bills. So to the TA's point, I'd like to see that money replaced so that we can do that.
Now, can I come in here and please correct me if I'm wrong, if I can make honest? So, the way I remember the Heights property, there was really three kind of distinct parcels. Parcel A is where the Harbor Homes project's going on, that's the largest piece. Parcel C is still something they're thinking about in the future, what they're gonna do with it. And I believe you're talking about what was referred to as Parcel B, which is for town use property. That's where they wanna cut the trees at. So, it's not like they want to cut these trees down for Harbor Homes, that's not the case. This is for a piece of property that the town's gonna retain, am I correct?
Most likely the town will end up retaining it. So when you drive in Rutland Heights Way, drive in the driveway to the hospital, it's the left-hand side of the roadway where the brush continues to encroach from the pond up into the field. Now, we'll get to the mowing in a minute, but where it's getting more difficult every year to keep that maintained, and soon enough, well, Tom, you could probably attest to it better than anybody else living next door to it. At a time, those saplings grow up into the field, and soon enough, you're not going to be able to cut them with a I don't know what the machine is called. I call it a rototiller, but it isn't. It's just a big grinder that grinds. What is it?
Brush hog?
No, it's bigger than that. It's
Oh, the one that,
yeah.
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So soon enough, we're not going to be able to do that, and then it's going to become a manual expense of having to go in there, do it with chainsaws, get wood chippers, and it'll cost a heck of a lot more than $15,000 to do it. So our thought was go in there and, I'm just going to hypothesize, anything bigger than a foot leave, take everything else down. Now you can go in with a brush hog once or twice a year, cut that entire parcel, and you'll end up ultimately with what will be a park that you put picnic tables on, you could put paddle boats in, you could put canoes, kayaks, whatever.
So where's the maintenance for that now clear park going to come from?
That's why it's on here. There is no maintenance for it. I've attempted to get the DPW to cut it, and they have on occasion. This year they did not. They were not able to. So through the goodness of Mr. Dick Williams' heart, he, like he always does, goes down and donates his tractor, his machine. 2 years ago, blew a rear tire at the cost of, I think, $900 of his own money that he paid. So that's another line item on here that I think we should be paying somebody, whether it's Dick Williams or doesn't matter who. I personally think this should be a DPW item. It shouldn't be the RDIC's responsibility any more than it's the Recreation's responsibility to mow the baseball fields.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just my personal thought on it.
So, before we continue with
I
this,
guess you're totally confused, haven't I?
no, I want to understand why you handed in a budget when Ron asked you to of $2,200, and now we're all a lot more.
Well, the lot more is trying to make up some of the, well, first of all, remember that we have $13,000 still there. Let's just call it $13,000.
Mm-hmm.
So the tree clearing is really what we need is $2,000 to get back to even on the tree clearing. Right?
I suppose, yeah.
So okay, think about it. This goes to last year when we forced him to use money that he wanted to use for tree cutting from the article He
Yeah, but
couldn't use it because he had to use it to pay for, the clerical work and all the other things.
I mean, I guess we need to look into exactly what that was. I mean, it's my recollection that the warrant article was not to be used to do these things. It was more to try to get the land sold
Promotion.
as promotion and
That,
sell
that
it.
particular
Well,
piece of
and
property
not
is
the
not
right.
gonna be used for selling because that's supposed to stay in
Yeah,
town's hands.
is it gonna be more saleable if it's a big overgrown brush field, or more saleable if it's a mold field down to the pond?
I don't know. I just remember that was the thing. It was supposed to be for the broker and commissions and stuff like that. That's what I remember it as, but.
Well, the brokers and commissions, quite frankly, Karen, will come out of the sale of the property at the closing, so that's
But I
not a
know that we
cost.
had to do RFP.
I
it's
knew it,
neither here nor-
Tamika.
Thank you.
I don't know what the article says.
Town appropriate as to see if the town will vote to transfer the sale of property, Rutland Heights, the sum of $35,985 to fund engineering, site studies, marketing, legal, and other work required for the RDIC to prepare Rutland Heights for site disposition and development, including all incidental and related expenses.
So it's pretty loosely
Pretty broad.
written. And that
I
money,
suppose.
and that money, my recollection is that money came from the tree cutting on the other side of the road.
It's no different than the ambulance revenue. Ambulance revenue goes into the general fund. That money for the tree clearing went into the general fund. You don't have a revolving fund.
Right.
So that's
But
the
then
thing.
at a town meeting, we,
You justified it
He
by
sounds
saying,
like-
that's how
well,
you
it sounds
justify it.
like I don't know, because I wasn't here before my time, but he makes it sound like a transfer at town meeting from one line to another.
No,
So is that what happened, Mike? or is
no,
that
I
from
wouldn't
revenue?
say that.
no, it's a warrant article
So
that
that
we
was a
gave
regular
money.
revenue item then? There's nothing to do with the
no.
trees by the next
The
door, right?
trees, they clear cut the other
It's just
side
straight
of and the money that we got for the clear cutting then went to,
That makes sense.
Well,
If you
the
could
money-
do it as a
The
transfer.
money
if you
that
want.
came into free cash was appropriated for that article to,
part of it,
Yeah.
yep.
it was
Yep.
with all the other money too, but
Right.
that was portioned here, but.
The sell
So-
at the town meeting was, we got $35,000 for cutting the trees.
Right.
Please give it back to us so we can use it over
Right.
here.
Right.
I see.
But
yeah.
was the amount, for the total amount for you said it was $20,000 for that article?
It
No.
was
It was
35.
35,000?
He said there's
35.
20,000 left this year.
Oh, there was 20,000 left this year though.
No, there's 12,000 left.
There's
No, there's
12.
12
you
left
just did
now.
7,000 recently for the,
That's correct.
Yeah.
Had we not spent that, we would have
so there
told.
was about 20. and
Was,
then-
okay, so, I got you. So, I guess what I'm reading here is this the right way to look at this? You said $1,500 over here, but that's based on your meetings with this company that's gonna be developing up there.
Wait a minute, which 1,500 are we talking about?
On your sheet you
Labor.
handed out
What
tonight.
was
The
$2,000
top
the
section
number they're
labor.
looking at?
And then the other
That's
500.
just secretarial fees.
No, right, but that's for your meetings with them, and then with the other five to make the $2,000 that was in the budget would be for your regular meeting. You're gonna have regular meetings too, aren't you?
These are for all regular
Oh,
meetings,
all
all of our
meetings.
meetings.
Okay. Well, going back to the other side, with Dick mowed that grassy side, I was on the other side. I mowed quite a bit of the brush on the other side over there, but
Sorry, I didn't know that, so I apologize for not recognizing you for that.
I know, but I'm just saying, I tried, but you're right, the stuff over there is getting so big now, it's not, you need a bigger machine to, because even
Right.
with my track, I have a rake in the front that I can push a lot of smaller stuff, just push it out of the ground and get rid of it, but
And
couldn't
we
even do that.
had,
It's getting so big now over there, it's gonna,
it is close, if it's not already too big to, well, it is, because Dick can't cut anywhere
No,
near where
that's
he used to.
and
And I don't know, do you know the name of the company that did the area across the street from,
I do not.
it doesn't matter. The company XYZ went in and volunteered while the machine was there and took a pass through that area that we're talking about down near the pond. Went whatever 100 yards in and said, "Yep, look, this is what it's going to look like. This is what I can do," and it was.
Right.
We thought it was great.
So it sounds to me like there needs to be a plan for how this is gonna work. Now and in the future. Once this is all done and development's done, as you were saying before, it's not gonna be very promotional if it doesn't look good. So if the idea is that this is going to have to be maintained, there should be a plan someplace. Your budget, Joe's budget, Ron's budget, I don't know, someplace. That
And
says this needs to be able to be done, and it gets at least identified there. And then the town people will make the choice as to whether or not it would be.
somebody has to pony up the money to mow it. You know, let's assume the trees are gone. Someone has to pony up the money once or twice a year
Right.
to maintain it.
Right. And
Well, that should be, you mean the RDIC has control of the property through that article that brought the property to the town, so it should be in your budget, whether the DPW does it or
Yeah.
so, I mean,
I don't
the
care what
money would be in
budget
your
it's in.
budget, but the labor would just be paid to the DPW people then, that's all. But it should be in that budget, because that's what it's for.
I don't care what budget.
No,
it's
I
in,
know,
as
I
long as it
understand
gets
that, I'm
done.
just trying to talk about what Peter
Right.
just said.
Yep,
it should be there someplace. It
But
should
we
be
don't
represented.
have the staff in DPW. for
Well,
it.
that's-
Well, no, that's the other
that's the
problem.
whole
Yeah,
problem.
that's
Because
right.
I talked to Joe
That's correct.
at least 3 times this year, and he was very
We were
polite
very
and-
upfront about that
Oh,
last
yeah,
year
he
before the
said,
budget.
Mike, you have my word, if I can get it done, I'll get it done, but don't bet on it. Now, just so you know, there is one parcel, Tom, this will mean more to you probably than some of these younger folk. The
know
old
he's
dump,
just talking about
Whoa,
well, the old dump site, that was capped. We have a legal requirement for that to be mowed every 2 years. That has to be done. And Joe has been very good about that, so, I will, go on record with that. He's maintained that the way it has to be.
But the point is still the same.
Yep.
There needs to be a reference, there needs to be a marker in a budget someplace that says that these kinds of things get done by the town and not by nice people that are willing to go in and blow their tires up.
But the problem comes in, my question still remains. What changed when you asked for $2,200 to now asking for this?
Well, I guess what changed is we were only talking about labor then, and now we're talking about the upkeep of the entire property, and I guess I probably should have brought it up sooner.
Because we asked all the departments to bring in budget requests. The TA has already spent the time to go through and
Yep,
reduce
I
the
got it.
budget where it needs to be so that we can get there. And now you're coming in asking for more money that truthfully we don't have. And I'm just trying to figure out when we put out the budget request, I read what he wrote and it did ask for what you needed,
Right.
and
So I
So-
think, I don't know, again, I don't know that his intention to come here tonight was to ask more money for the maintenance. It was really, I think the big justification is, the big argument was for the $2,000 for the Tamika roll. That was really the big argument tonight. We're just explaining, what I think he's doing is explaining to you what's happening because we keep cutting the $2,000, because he's paying for the legal fee, he can't do the tree stuff. But he never came to me, and I don't know that he's coming here tonight asking for money to do with the trees. I don't
Well-
think that he's trying to deal with it, but the maintenance question is still an issue. And then the question on that parcel B is still, I'm not sure, maybe I'm wrong, but there's a determination as to what we're gonna do with that property. He's still, there's been some talk about picnic tables and parks, but I don't think anyone's made a decision as to what parcel's gonna be yet, right? What parcel B is gonna be.
No, nobody has,
Yeah.
but back to your original point, if nothing happens to parcel, let's call it parcel C, the parcel on the left. If nothing happens to it for another year, it's gonna become more expensive.
It's something.
So I'll be back here next year saying, all right, it's not $15,000 anymore, it's some bigger number, because it can't be done as expeditiously with the proper equipment. And maybe that's the only way it can be done, I don't know.
So last year, and probably again this year, last year, we asked for folks to be able to provide an impact statement. Excuse me. What happens if this doesn't get done? If this doesn't happen, this funding doesn't happen, what happens? What blows up? What goes out? What happens?
Pete, which funding are you talking about? The 2,000 or are you talking about the tree issue?
The $20,000.
Yeah,
The
I'm
additional
talking about
20 grand.
I'm talking about, so,
There's 21,000 not in the budget from the request.
right, there's money there that we know it's gonna happen. Some places, if it doesn't happen, then the other property probably.
Let Mike answer the question.
No, you know what, a fairer way for this to be written would be, let's just take the $13,000 that Tamika says is left in the account. Let's strike the $15,000 and make it $2,000, because now I have the $15,000 to cut the trees that we originally wanted to cut. Leave the mowing as an open issue, and then the professional services are what they are. There's nothing I can do about those.
That's 9,000,
It's gonna still leave a gap.
right, roughly.
Even if you make it to 15, if you put in the 2 and that gets you to your 15, you still have the Tamika salary you can no longer cover because you don't have anything left in that account. So you still need the 2 plus 2.
Yeah, no,
You need
well,
at least
I know.
4.
So wait,
If you wanted to get
We're
the
making it
15 back, you need
$12,000
to-
better, I guess is what I'm saying.
Can I clarify something? The professional services of $5,000, is that to reimburse the $7,000 that you spent?
No.
No, so this is $5,000 more that's needed to be spent.
Well, may need to be, and I want to be upfront about that. You know, we have what's amounting to a $50 million project that's going to be built up there starting this summer. Is it reasonable to expect that the town would have no professional service expenses, legal fees, engineering fees? I don't think so, but can I tell you that we're going to have 5,000? No, I can't. I just picked a number. I mean, we can make it $2,000, and if we need more than that, we'll come back and ask for it.
So
So,
out of the 12,673, 2 goes to the secretarial labor. You could take the 5 for the professional services. And yes, you're still out the tree cutting, I get that. But once the land is sold, if it happens this fiscal year, which would be great, because then in November you could ask for the money to come in and pay somebody to do the tree.
That's a good question.
Go ahead.
so why wouldn't, at this point in time, this is my opinion on what all was said, why wouldn't you leave the budget as the budget thing was left here at 2,200? And then the 12,000 is still there for your promotional or advertise, whatever you may do for something else coming up.
Mowing.
And then do the same thing with the clearing and the other services after we see where the whole budget shakes out and what free cash is left, just like you're gonna do with some other articles.
So truthfully, there's all kinds of options of what you can do with this, right?
No, I'm just saying
But
that,
that's one option,
That's
yes.
it.
but because the tree clearing and the professional services, as presented here in the mowing, those are one-time things that would happen then. Great, if you don't cut the trees this year, nothing's gonna happen, they're gonna grow a little bigger. If you don't cut them the next year, they're growing a little bit, like they've been growing since 1960, well, the state moved in there in 65, and they cut the lawns there for 2 or 3 years, and then the brush started coming, and it's been growing ever since.
Well, that's
But,
what,
but all that land was clear, mowed every year from 1925 or 6 when the VA went in until the state took it over.
You know as well as I do, it's a golf course.
Right.
yeah. So the
But
question.
anyways, that's just a side comment, but I'm just saying, leave that, and we can look at these numbers in a few months when we get done. We get further along.
I don't have huge heartburn about the trees. Everybody's got to understand is that number is going to get bigger every year we don't do it.
I'll make one last comment on this, and I don't wanna
Doesn't
get,
it also make it harder to maintain the mowing, because they
Yeah.
can't, right, like Tom, when
Usually.
when you and Dick are trying to mow, you can't get in there as well as there's more brush in there.
Maneuverability, yeah.
But if it's, where it's mowed, it's staying, the brush is staying back from where it's mowed, it's,
But you're how far away from the pond now? 100 feet?
no, more than that.
More than that, yeah.
A little more than that, probably 200-300 feet.
Yeah.
On that back side, yes. Where he mows up front, I mean, that's, what he's been mowing for several years now, that's plot is staying basically the same, so.
so Tom, I make my last comment on this issue, 'cause I don't wanna get into this, and again, this is just a thought. Is one of the other ways you can consider this is that once we know what the plan is to do with that property, then whatever the redevelopment of that property to what we want it to be, the tree cutting and everything is gonna be part of that cost. But I don't know what the property will be. For all I know, it's gonna be open space. I don't know what it's gonna be. So once you know what it's gonna be, whatever the cost of removing trees and stuff should be factored into whatever that project's gonna be. But, you know, you could do it the other way, you could just keep maintaining it and then hope that one day, whatever the plan is, fits to whatever you did with the trees. That's the kind of way.
It's very unlikely that anything significant is ever gonna happen to that parcel. It's just, it's too much wetlands. I mean, there's literally maybe 2.5 acres on the very front corner where the guard shack is, that's dry enough to do it. And that, even that's encroaching, and it's, if I gave you the explanation of why it's a wetland, you know, the water that runs under your driveway that goes into the property, into a pipe, all the way down to the pond, is still considered wetland.
I remember that.
So you make sense out of that, I can't.
Another concept of this is gonna be, we don't know exactly when the closing date of this property is. Everything is leading us to believe that this is going to close. It could happen, as parents said, in the next fiscal year in July, or who knows, right?
Well, let me just
But at some
comment on
point-
that. On Monday, on yesterday's planning board meeting, the definitive plan was submitted. The A&R to cut that particular lot out of the 88-acre lot was signed and completed. All of the plans and all of the permitting documents are now out to all the boards, Concom, you know, everybody, fire, police, so it's moving now.
My only comment to that was gonna be, in my opinion, again, this is just an opinion, anything can happen with the Board of Selectmen, but when this sale goes through and there's a closing, you're gonna get a significant amount of money from that property. I think at that time, the RDIC should have a plan and say, we need 20 or 30 or 40 grand for future RDIC activities, and the Board of Selectmen should consider that and put money in it. That could include trees or whatever it can include. But I think that this is the time when that money does close, that some chunk of it should be put aside for RDIC future use. That be maybe for developing that other piece of property or whatever it might be. But, you know, that's something that I think the RDIC should develop some plan for, you know, what they think they're gonna need in the future. And listen, they're the ones that, it was their work in a lot of ways that helped close this property. So I think that's a good time to make a case for some of the money for future stuff. But that's just my thought. Make sense, Mike, to some degree?
Yeah, fine. Honestly, I wanna get this first phase
Done.
I mean, as soon as we get a building permit, we get $1.65 million.
So, I guess the only question I have is the request for $2,200 or $200, the budget request?
The request was for 2,200, I cut the 2,000 out for clerical.
Right.
By thinking that would come from the article and left $2,000 in.
Mhm.
So the request was for 2,200, I cut the clerical money out, thinking that can be paid for out of the article. But we can put it back in and pay for it, and that leaves
Well,
$2,000
no,
for
I'm
whatever.
just, so, it's not in our budget number now?
Not right now.
Okay. So, all of the might be, could be, woulda, coulda, woulda. If that doesn't happen, then we're gonna be short. Sure.
The question is, it's gonna be paid for out of the article, so he's not gonna be able to do other things he wants within the article money.
Okay.
That's the trick.
Okay.
If we leave the budget the way it is, he's gonna have $2,000 he's gonna have to spend in article money to pay for the clerical work.
Got it.
Which means he can do less in that article than what he would like to do.
Got it.
And I can take the $12,000 and use it for professional services and mowing.
Yeah.
That's,
Just means trees ain't getting done.
Well, we were talking before, maybe buying some lottery tickets.
That
That
probably
way-
makes the most sense though, right
That's-
now.
that
I
was-
mean, because potentially in not too many months, you could have quite a bit of cash to ask for, to do a whole bunch of things you wanna do there.
So let's be a little bit careful there, Tom. So the way that works is that once that 2.65 million comes to the town, you can't use it right away.
No,
I'm sorry.
1.65.
Yeah, I said apologies, 1.65. When that comes to the town, that falls into free cash, has to wait to be certified, and then at
Well,
some point we can distribute it.
Right, I mean, that's not,
But
the
that's
time
not
goes
the
by
process.
too fast.
And I'm just letting you know that's the process. You just
right.
can't take it from one and put it in the other.
No, I understand that, I'm just,
There are
So
some things that we
have until June
can.
30th to close, and then we can use
Yeah.
the money next
Just
November.
I'm sorry, say it again?
Close by June 30th, we can use the money in November.
One other comment,
You don't know
Josina.
how badly I would like to
I
see.
know that, I know.
That 1.652 isn't gonna be 1.65, because out of that's gotta come commissions and costs and stuff, closing costs, so it's not gonna be that full 1.65.
And pay off the loan.
Pay off the loan, that's another chunk, yeah, so don't, just because
And
that
the town's
1.
gonna want the full amount of what they pay for the land back into.
We have to
into-
pay it off in debt service, there's a borrowing
Well,
note
yeah,
on
but
it.
you may wanna put that money back into the,
The general fund.
stabilization fund or something too. From
Yeah, I mean, there's all
But there's still gonna be funds there for you to work with.
Right.
Well, there's gonna be funds. The question is, will we have it to work with?
Well, we just
You know,
have to.
you know as well as I do, you're gonna have DPW, fire department, police department, recreation, everybody's gonna be in line, and the RDIC is at the bottom and what?
I'm looking for that money.
So it becomes how.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong, I'm not crying, it's
No,
just, it's
no,
a fact of life.
It just becomes how convincing you are at town meeting.
Well, plus what the recommendations are, so.
That's what you gotta have a plan.
I mean, it would make sense that the money came from the property. It should do something with that property if that's what you need to have done.
The town paid for that property.
I know, but that's what I just said. They should get paid back for it first,
Right,
but there's
right.
still
Yeah.
money beyond that.
There'll still be $1 million
Right.
beyond that.
I'm just, yes, but, anyway, it's neither here nor there. We
Yeah,
don't have to
no,
worry about it.
I
Until there's a
understand how you're
signature at the
spending it
bottom,
out,
I
don't
don't
have
believe
that,
it, because it was gonna close in September last year, is what I heard last year at this time.
Well,
I get it, stuff happens.
Yeah, there's a lot
And
of
they've been
issues.
great, because they keep sticking through everything that gets put in front of them. They keep sticking with it, so that's a good
I've
thing.
had bi-weekly meetings with them and Dave George for the last 6 months,
Mhm.
and they have not missed a single commitment.
Yep,
That's going good.
so,
Can I ask 2 questions?
go right ahead.
Depends who you're asking.
yeah, and only,
Between the road and Mosio's, that's parcel C that got treed?
That's parcel,
It was called parcel C in the original plan. We're talking about the road to, the property to the left of the road from Maple Street, that originally was identified as parcel C. Now, I don't know what, because it was, A was the
is
parcel
that
thing.
correct? The left is C?
I'm sorry,
Because
it
One
was
side
B.
is B
And
earlier.
Lozio's
B
is
is the left, and then the other one is C.
Who paid for that, taking the trees out over there?
We got paid
So why can't we
$35,000
get paid for the other side?
because
They're not as good.
They're
there
sucking
was-
trees?
Yeah,
Okay, all right, second question. What
If
is the
you
final
remember
number that
what
should be in
Mosio's-
here? Is it 200 or 2,200?
yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Good question.
He requested 2,200,
Right.
Okay.
of which Ron took out the $2,000 for the secretarial wages to make the balanced budget.
And that money was coming from where?
The article,
From this 12,000?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I was confused in that too.
And we are leaving it at 200?
That's
So
the
the-
question of the day. That's the question of
Do you
the
wanna
day.
Well,
cut
no, right now we
$2,000
are,
somewhere
because-
else?
What's that?
Do you wanna cut
Well, you don't
$2,000
have to do
somewhere
it,
else?
'cause in theory
He's
you
got
have some.
$2,000. No, I just want to know what
Yeah,
number are we
we're
using
leaving it
right now?
at the $200 is what's in the TA budget.
Right.
And then it's up for discussion
Right.
as to what we wanna
So the
do.
$200 would be the raise and appropriate, and the 2,000 is coming out of existing funds.
Right.
Okay.
Just means that if you do that, he's not gonna be able to cut the trees. That's the issue.
And with everything else that we're doing, we've got plenty of departments that do town services that can't do stuff, so I'm sorry, I don't mean to be
With the
cold, but
price
that's
of
the
oil
truth.
going up, we might be able to get paid for those trees, for firewood.
Most of them are crap on that side.
Any other
no,
dis-
short term, my biggest concern is being able to handle professional services if we need them. And it sounds like even with the plan you folks are proposing, there should be enough money to be able to handle that.
It appears that way, you're correct.
You didn't need, I guess again, it's not for this discussion. We should have a discussion later, but peer review is what you're talking about, right? Peer review, don't
Well,
they have
like
to pay
for-
for that, peer review? It's the
Yes,
homes?
no, I'm not talking about peer review. What I'm saying, they pay for the peer review.
So what we
But
pay
let's
for?
suppose there's a discrepancy with a lot line, that's a town-owned lot line,
Right.
and we have to have it
The
surveyed.
survey, yeah.
Or if there's a legal question that comes up,
Well, we are paying the legal fees out of it already, so that's.
well, because of the way
Dealt
RFPs work, which doesn't make any sense to me, but
So.
It sounds like there's gonna be enough to pay those fees, though, is what I'm hearing.
Can we get paid for the Roosevelt rose bushes that are up there?
they're not there
Graft
anymore.
them
How much
or
you
something?
offering? How much you
Seven.
offering? We can talk about it.
Okay.
They're gone.
We look,
Yeah, they got taken.
Do we have any other?
I don't
business?
remember when they did everything, that was when it goes. That's all the business we have for this evening. Is there any more discussion for Mike and Michelle, who are here from RDIC, which they appeared on time too, so thank you.
I don't think I gave you the updated sheet. Did anybody else not get the updated budget adjustment sheet?
We don't do anything on this one?
I think you're the only one that didn't get the budget adjusted. The only thing it's added is that $1,000 for the treasurer. Everybody else has it,
Okay.
right?
He's already
Okay,
taken it.
just,
Madam Chairman, am I dismissed?
You are dismissed. Thank you very much for coming and
Thank
being
you.
timely, so thank you.
So we're done with everything,
We're
right?
done with everything.
Good night, everybody. Thank you, everybody.
Good night. So,
Motion to adjourn?
I would like to have one more discussion, please. This is,
Make it a long
She said we were done tonight.
Yeah, she did.
Lied.
I thought we were done.
Everyone heard that, right?
okay.
I said second.
You said
Shut up, Darren.
You said I was done.
Is that in the minutes?
Right, it is fine. I sent to everybody the Association for Town Finance Committee's meeting that's being held April 30th. Like I said, I think if you're interested, it is the day of the townwide yard sale, so it is inconvenient in that respect, but it's down in Pine Ridge. I just want to make sure everyone gets that.
Do you have enough money in your budget back there?
No, we have to pay for it ourselves.
Always, thanks for doing
We've
what
always
you
needed
did.
to pay for it
Thank you.
ourselves.
Oh, I'm sorry?
We've always had to pay for it ourselves.
I'm
was
gonna
gonna go, but I
suggest
said-
it's an offer,
Yeah.
take it or leave it, but, in my budget, the MMA annual meeting they go off, there's some extra funds in there if you wanted to do the
We're
transfer.
gonna need it to
I
go to
would
free
not
cash.
object it if it.
We're gonna need it to go to free cash after what I
Okay.
saw today, so we're gonna need that to go to free cash. Thank you, though, I appreciate it.
Okay.
It's a $25 fee, so we're not talking a lot of
What
money.
did you see today that's concerning?
No, it's gonna cost you $50
Snow
to
ice?
sit down.
Now I'll go through that later.
you get dogs?
To get
Oh,
the
that's-
gas.
that didn't sound good to me. I'm like, what?
Okay, so, now could I get a motion to adjourn?
Oh, sure, I'll make a motion
No,
that
it's
we
too late.
adjourn.
It's too late. Darren
You
second.
gonna speak up, Darren?
Second.
Okay, we have to take a roll call vote because Darren's here. All in favor?
Aye.
No, we have to take a roll call. So Purcell,
Aye.
O'Malley,
Aye.
Rashala,
Aye.
Narwhal, aye. Winika,
Aye.
Moa.
Aye.
Ross,
Aye.
thank you.